Well, there's plenty to catch up on this week's vlog. Just been tying a few hooks because I'm off to Whiteacres this week for the Drennan Reeve Silverfish 2-day festival. Really looking forward to that. I think it should be some good fishing, so be good to see how we get on there. Lots to catch up on. First of all, the Winter League. Really like the Winter League. The Winter League is, for me, probably the most traditional team fishing competition in England. It's very much something that if you've been involved in team fishing, you will have been part of at some point. And it's had its ups and downs, and this year they decided to make a few changes. So the first significant change was that only the winners of the leagues went through to the final, with the runners-up going through to a runners-up final. So they've done away with the semi-finals that they used to have, where it was the top two went to the semi-finals and then you went from there. Our Winter League, which is held on the Selby Canal, the River Don and the Steynie at Thorn, it's a competitive Winter League, some great anglers in that league, and I think what the problem with it for us is that the first few weeks clash with the Whiteacres festivals, the Parkdean Masters and the Maver in the Preston Innovations Festival. So a lot of our anglers go on that festival. That said, we've still got a lot of good anglers here. So, you know, it wasn't, we thought that we could probably fish the league and do quite well. It hasn't quite panned out that way. The Don and the Selby Canal were difficult, and we ended up coming second in 2 rounds, and then had an absolute disaster on a flooded River Don and came joint last, which, as long as I've been fishing for Barnsley, hasn't happened. But unfortunately, these things happen. Since I've joined the team nearly 10 years ago, we've managed to win the Winter League, and after those 3 results it was looking almost impossible. I've been away, like I say, the Census Challenge and Whiteacres, which is difficult when it's 6 rounds on the bounce. I do like how other leagues do it, where they break it up with practice matches in between. It gives you more matches to fish than when it's 6 on the bounce, but that's the way the leagues run, and the guys who run the league do a fantastic job, so, you know, long may it continue. That meant when we went on the Steynie at Thorn, it was all but over. And on the first of the 3 rounds there, Ossett, who were now winning the league, sealed our fate by beating the team there as well. I came in to fish on the final 2 rounds, because by that point, personally, I was back from being away, and it looks like we drew a little bit better on the last rounds. I don't really think that we'd drawn terribly elsewhere, because I always am a believer over 10 men you'd have to be really unlucky to completely be out of it, but we probably got it a little bit wrong here and there, but Ossett got it very right. So in the last 2 rounds we salvaged a bit of pride, scoring a very impressive 14 points on both occasions, I think, certainly this weekend. Personally, I thought the fishing was good. I fished bloodworm and joker, and the last few years there's been a lot of fish on the canal to be caught on casters and hemp, and that was the case in some areas. There was a lot of rudd on the canal, which I just have never seen. Shows what a warm summer can bring. And there was also tench caught. There was tench caught in both matches. On the first match I fished, Matt Godfrey drew at the far end of the length, where there'd been some tench the week before, and caught 2 tench and a rake of silverfish to win the match with £20. So it does show that, you know, I haven't seen that sort of thing happen on the canal before, so it's completely different. And then this week, I'm going to give Matt another mention, because he did the double. He managed £13, fished completely different. We'd had a lot colder weather, and he was completely the other end of the length, right at the end, and £13. I think 13.7 he had, and that was all roach and small fish, and that's what the league was like. personally, I've had 2 section wins in the 2 rounds that I fished, which in a team match I don't ever think you can do anything more than that. If you win your section, then great. Last week you needed to be up the far end of the match length to compete in the match overall, so I just settled with a section win. And then this week I've managed £12 and half an ounce, which was 4th in the match, which was nice. There was a £12 1 ounce and a £12 5 ounce, so I was a little bit disappointed that I couldn't come second, but you know, I felt I did well in my section. There was a £9, a couple of 7s, so I felt I'd had a good performance. Bloodworm really was the key. I fished a couple of shorter lines. I think there's a lot of fish to catch, but there's a lot of pike. Big problems with pike on the canal at the moment. I find the best way to tackle them is to fish slightly more stronger elastic. Try and rotate your swims a little bit more, because you're going to get pike come and strike on different pegs. I actually had a pike try to take my fish 14 times. Fortunately, I won 13-1. It was just a bit too slow. I think it's because it was a big one. Didn't quite have the pace to catch up with me this time, but he nabbed one right at the end of the match. I was a bit disappointed about. That's obviously probably cost me coming second, but anyway, that's the way it goes. So there was a lot of pike for everybody, which I don't know why there's such a massive number of pike, but it's a little bit worrying. I don't really want it to get to a point where it really affects the course fishing. You know, there's a lot of pike anglers use the length as well, so you've got to use it for everybody, but I'd hate to see the roach numbers diminish, which they're not at the moment. They are not at the moment, but I'd hate to see anything diminish. I think pike really like to strike on fish that stray from the shoals, to be honest. They don't, you know, that's why you get them take the fish once you've struck and coming in. So as for the fishing, I used the new Sooner Baits River ground bait. When I saw the ground bait, I knew it would be perfect for Thorn. I spent a lot of time with Ian Day, as did a couple of the other guys, developing the mixes, and I knew that ground bait would be right for Thorn, and it really proved it these 2 weeks. I've caught really well over the top of it. Like I say, I've had £11 and £12, a couple of section wins, so I'm really going to carry a lot of confidence in the mix now going forward. I have caught a lot of fish with it throughout the year testing it. That big catch I had on the canal that you've seen in Match Fishing Magazine this month was on the same ground bait, so exciting times really with that, so that's quite good. The other thing that's been keeping my attention, and what is going to really draw my attention this winter, is silverfish fishing on commercials. We had the first round of the silverfish pairs, Preston Innovation sponsored pole fishing run pairs league. The idea of the league, I first went to Tom with an idea for a league, which initially wasn't going to be anything to do with the magazine. We were just going to run a local league to try and get bites through the winter, and that's why Tom got quite excited about it and decided to take it on with Pole Fishing magazine, and they did a fantastic job running the match this week. Really good, really well run. And the match was held at Barston and Packington, and Barston in particular, it was probably one of the best matches I've ever been a part of in terms of how well it fished. And it does go to show, and I've been saying it for a while, if there was pole only events where we ruled out fishing with pellets and didn't allow carp, so people sat it out, you'd get lots of bites and people catching lots of fish. 44 kilos won the match, F1s and skimmers. Grant Albert, brilliant performance. In that section, 34 kilos was fourth. 34 kilos of silverfish. You know, that's £80, nearly £80 of silverfish. That's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Fishing by anybody's standards, especially in November, and that was the case all the way around the lake. I'm fishing with Match Fishing Magazine's Joe Kerris. We were excited, thought we could compete, thought we could do well in the league. Unfortunately, it didn't go quite to plan. I think where we went wrong, if I'm being perfectly honest, is I didn't draw our pegs and neither did Joe. We're both draw bags, so we'd have been on some good pegs, I think, if we'd have drawn. But we had the first chap come up draw for us because we were involved with running the match. Didn't want to seem like anything bad was going on, so allowed somebody else to draw our pegs for us, and we drew terribly. For any of you that know Barston, I drew peg 68, which is right in the back corner of the lake. I was disappointed, really. You know, the peg probably didn't need to be used. We sort of got the pegging a bit wrong, and I was disappointed that I was sat there. I think I could have been on the back straight of the match, but you know, I'm guilty of making a mistake there because I helped with the pegging, so a little bit disappointed with that. But it's very deep there. What happens is all the silt gathers into that area of the lake, and it doesn't hold a massive amount of fish. Barston itself is rammed, as we saw. I had a lovely day's fishing, sort of nicking a couple of fish off each line for 12 kilos, which is £25. Little hand-sized skimmers. Really enjoyed my day's fishing. Couldn't see another angler because I was tucked away in this little corner. And I thought, well, we'll see how we've done. The next angler had weighed 8 kilos. Chap who had entered the competition, not fished many matches before. And then you went round the corner. And I was in a different world. There was a 28 kilos, a 24 kilos, a 17 kilos, skimmers, bream, absolutely solid. I mean, Ed Warren had 24 kilos, and he mentioned to me that he's had a fish every chuck in from start to finish, which just goes to show the way I was catching an odd one here or there just wasn't the numbers of fish there. So unfortunately, fourth in my 5 peg section, which doesn't happen very often, but it did happen this week. That's the way fishing goes. Joe had a similar fate, 4th in his 5 peg section. Again, there's a bit of a point on Molan's Lake. He had 4 pegs around the point that all caught F1s, and he was the first peg round to the right. He'd have actually finished first or second, I'm not exactly sure, in the next section round, but unfortunately he was the first peg in with a point, managed to only beat one of the anglers. Like he said, he caught lots of fish, but never the amount of F1s to compete, and he ended up coming 4th. So we haven't had a very good start to the league. I don't think we're looking in a very strong position, but there is 3 rounds to go. You know, both me and Joe can catch a few fish, so you never know. We might get a string of results together. I actually travelled with Frankie Giannicelli, and him and his partner Ian Bowman both won the sections and won the match on the day as a pair, which is £1,000 to the winning pair. You can imagine how quickly he shared some of that money with me. Oh no, he didn't. No, that's right. Yeah, I had to drive him there and back. But anyway, I'll let that one slide. He fished a fantastic match. We actually fished quite similar tactics because we travel together. We talk a lot about the tactics, and you know, so I know the tactics were right. What we did, we threw in some lean with a little bit of ground bait in it. Created a big area in the peg with not a lot of bait, get the fish in, get the fish searching, and then actually cupped in some bait in the middle of that to try and suck the fish into a concentrated area. Used the new Soonerbaits bream with a bit of lean in there, with some joker, casters, dead maggots, and then off to one side we always like to feed a little bit of fish meal. So I like F1 green, just a little bit of F1 green, couple of balls, just to nick an odd maybe F1 or bream. And you know, I did the same thing, nicked an odd fish off my lines. Frankie caught really well on his main line and caught a few F1s. I think he had 4 or 5 F1s and some bream on his other gear. So it was really interesting, and just goes to show with natural baits how great the fishing can be. I mean, I think he weighed 23 kilos and he wouldn't have even been in the top 15 of the match with that, you know, so that just goes to show how well the actual match fished. So I'm really looking forward to the next round of that league, which is at Messingham, and I've been doing a lot of hook length preparation, PR412s, PR490s for silverfish fishing throughout the winter. We've got rounds at Messingham, Lindholm, Makins. I'm off to Whiteacres for a silverfish festival this weekend. Real sort of revolution, I think, in how many silverfish there are and the bites and good fishing there is to be had. So I'm really buzzing about that going forward. So just got a few hooks to finish off now, and it's off to Whiteacres for this competition this weekend. I'll let you know how I get on with the vlog next week. Thanks, see you later.